The sun was setting over the quiet monastery, painting the sky in hues of amber and gold. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the ancient Bodhi tree that stood at the heart of the temple courtyard. Sitting beneath it, on a simple wooden bench, was an old monk known as Master An. His presence was calm, his eyes carrying the depth of years spent in quiet contemplation. He had lived a simple life, yet those who met him often felt he possessed something they lacked: a deep, unwavering happiness. One evening, as the day faded into twilight, a man named David arrived at the monastery. Dressed in a crisp business suit, his shoulders were tense and his face bore the marks of exhaustion. David was in his late 40s, a successful entrepreneur who had built an empire from the ground up. He had wealth, recognition, and a life that many envied. Yet, despite all his achievements, an emptiness gnawed at him, a constant feeling that something was missing. David had come seeking answers. He had read about the wisdom of Buddhism, about monks who seemed to have unlocked the secret to inner peace. And so, in a rare moment of vulnerability, he had set aside his busy schedule to travel to this secluded monastery, hoping to find clarity. Master An looked up as David approached. He studied the man before him. The furrowed brows, the restless energy, the eyes that had seen success, but not contentment. With a kind smile, he gestured for David to sit beside him. "Tell me, my friend," Master An said, his voice gentle yet firm, "what brings you here?" David sighed heavily. "I don't know where to begin. I have everything I ever wanted. Money, a successful business, a beautiful home, but I feel lost. No matter how much I achieve, it never seems to be enough. There's always another goal, another milestone, but never real happiness." The monk nodded as if he had heard these words before. "You have traveled far for answers, but tell me, have you ever stopped to ask yourself what happiness truly is?" David hesitated. "I suppose I thought happiness would come once I had everything I dreamed of. But now, I realize I don't even know what it means." Master An chuckled softly. "You are not alone in this. Many people chase happiness as if it were a destination, but in doing so, they miss the simple truths that bring genuine joy. Let me share with you 7 secrets, lessons passed down through the wisdom of Buddhism. If you are willing to listen, with an open heart, you may find that happiness has been within your reach all along." David leaned in, eager yet skeptical. Could answers really be so simple? Could this old monk, with his modest robes and peaceful demeanor, truly show him the way to something he had been chasing his whole life? With the first stars beginning to twinkle in the evening sky, Master An began to speak. And so, the journey to understanding true happiness began. Gratitude is your superpower, master. And gazed at the night sky, where stars shimmered like tiny lanterns. David, have you ever truly understood the power of gratitude? David furrowed his brows. "I try to be grateful, but isn't it just a passing emotion? How does it bring lasting happiness?" Master An smiled warmly. "Gratitude is not just an emotion. It is a way of living. Let me share a story with you." He took a slow breath, as if traveling back in time. In a quiet village, there were 2 men. One was a wealthy merchant, surrounded by riches, while the other was a humble fisherman. The merchant had everything: fine clothes, a grand home, and abundant food. Yet, he was never content, always chasing more, fearing loss, and feeling restless. Meanwhile, the fisherman owned only a small boat and a simple hut. Yet he ended each day with a heart full of joy. He enjoyed his meals, laughed with his family, and rested peacefully. David listened closely. But why was the fisherman happy despite having so little? Master An's eyes gleamed with wisdom. Because he embraced gratitude. He valued each meal, each sunrise, each shared moment. The merchant, though possessing wealth, could never be satisfied, as he focused only on what was missing. David let the words sink in. So changing our focus can reshape our experience? Master. An nodded. Yes. When you cultivate gratitude, you shift from scarcity to abundance. You stop yearning for more and begin cherishing what you already have. Gratitude is a habit, David. One that must be nurtured. David leaned forward. How do I begin? Start small, Master An advised. Keep a gratitude journal. Each night, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They need not be grand. Perhaps the warmth of the sun, a kind word, or a peaceful moment. With time, your mind will naturally seek joy instead of dwelling on lack. David exhaled, nodding slowly. I've spent so much time chasing success that I've neglected the beauty of the present. Master. An placed a gentle hand on David's shoulder. Awareness is the first step to transformation. A grateful heart sees blessings where others see burdens. Practice gratitude, and you will find that happiness has been with you all along. David sat quietly, absorbing the lesson. He realized that his mind had been conditioned to see what was missing rather than what was present. His achievements had brought him recognition, but they had also distanced him from appreciating the simple joys of life. Master An continued, in Buddhist teachings, gratitude is not just about acknowledging the good, but about fully embracing life as it is. Even difficulties can be seen as opportunities for growth. Have you ever considered being grateful for challenges? David frowned. Grateful for challenges? That seems impossible. Why should I be thankful for hardship? Master An chuckled softly. Because they are your greatest teachers. Each struggle holds a lesson. A lost opportunity might lead you to a better path. A difficult relationship might teach you patience and compassion. When you learn to be grateful for everything, not just the pleasant moments but also the trials, you cultivate true resilience. David thought back to times he had felt defeated, moments of failure that had shaped him. And so even my struggles have value. Yes, Master An affirmed. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain, but about recognizing its role in your journey. Start today, David. Begin by appreciating one small thing, then another. Soon, gratitude will become your way of life. As the night deepened, David felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. He had come seeking happiness, only to discover it had been within his grasp all along. And with that realization, his journey toward a more fulfilled life had truly begun. Prioritize relationships, Master. And watch David thoughtfully as the younger man absorbed the lesson on gratitude. After a few moments of silence, the monk spoke again. There is another great secret to happiness, David. One that many overlook in their pursuit of success. True joy is not found in wealth or accomplishments, but in the relationships we nurture. David nodded slowly. I suppose I've been so focused on my career that I've neglected my relationships. But how does that affect happiness? Master An smiled knowingly. Let me tell you a story. There were once 2 men who lived in the same city. One was a prominent businessman, deeply respected in his field, but he spent little time with his family. He believed that providing financial security was enough. The other man, though earning modestly, prioritized his relationships. He shared meals with his family, checked in on his aging parents, and made time for friends. David leaned in, sensing the lesson coming. And which one was happier? The businessman had everything, except companionship, Master An explained. As the years passed, he realized that his wealth could not fill the loneliness that had crept into his life. He had lost touch with his loved ones, missing out on countless moments of connection. Meanwhile, the second man, though not as wealthy, found joy in the bonds he had built. He faced struggles, but never alone. His heart was full because he had people to share his life with. David sighed. I can see that happening to me. I've spent years chasing goals and neglected the people who matter. But how do I change that now? Master An nodded in understanding. Begin by being present. When you are with family or friends, truly listen. Put away distractions, engage fully, and express appreciation. Even small acts, like a phone call, a handwritten note, or a shared meal, can strengthen connections. David frowned. But what if I've already damaged some relationships? What if there's too much distance? Then practice humility and forgiveness. Master An advised. It is never too late to reconnect. Reach out, apologize if needed, and express your desire to rebuild what was lost. True relationships are not about perfection, but about effort and understanding. David nodded slowly, reflecting on his past. I think I understand. I've been measuring success in numbers rather than in moments shared. Master An smiled. You are beginning to see clearly. Nurturing relationships is like tending a garden. If you neglect it, weeds of distance and resentment grow. But if you care for it with kindness and consistency, it flourishes. David exhaled, feeling both regret and hope. I have a lot of work to do, but I want to start now. Then begin today. Master An encouraged. Call a loved one. Share a moment. Express gratitude for those in your life. Relationships are the foundation of true happiness. Treasure them, and you will never be alone. Living in the present moment, master. And observed David's expression, sensing a newfound understanding taking root. After a pause, he spoke again. David, have you ever noticed how much time people spend dwelling on the past or worrying about the future? We often overlook the only moment we truly have, the present. David sighed. I do that all the time. I regret decisions I've made, and I constantly worry about what's next. It feels like I'm never fully here. Master An nodded. You are not alone in this. Many people live in their minds, trapped by memories of the past or anxieties about the future. But happiness cannot be found in either. It exists only in the now. Let me share a story with you. He took a deep breath, his gaze calm. There was once a man who spent his days lamenting his past mistakes. He replayed every wrong decision, every missed opportunity, and filled his heart with regret. When he wasn't looking back, he was worrying about the future, how he would provide for his family, whether he would succeed, what disasters might await. In doing so, he missed the laughter of his children, the warmth of the sun, and the simple joys of life. He was physically present but never truly alive. David looked down, recognizing himself in the story. So, how did he change? One day, a wise teacher gave him a simple exercise. Every morning, before starting his day, he was to sit quietly and focus on his breath. Whenever his mind drifted to the past or future, he would gently bring it back to the present moment. At first, it was difficult, but over time, he began to see the world differently. He noticed the beauty of the moment, the colors of the sunrise, the taste of his food, the sound of laughter. His worries didn't disappear, but they no longer controlled him. David listened carefully. So mindfulness is the key. Just focusing on the present. Master An smiled. Mindfulness is more than just focus. It is a way of being. It is experiencing life fully, embracing each moment without clinging to the past or fearing the future. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you speak with someone, listen deeply, without thinking of what to say next. David nodded slowly. That sounds simple, but I imagine it takes practice. Indeed, Master An affirmed. But every great journey begins with a single step. Start small. Set aside a few moments each day to be fully present. Take deep breaths. Observe your surroundings. Let go of distractions. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. David exhaled, feeling a sense of relief. I want to try. I don't want to miss my own life while chasing things that don't even bring happiness. Master An's eyes twinkled with approval. Then begin today. The present moment is always here, waiting for you to embrace it. Let go of yesterday's burdens and tomorrow's worries. Life is happening now. Live it fully. Pursuing meaning. Over perfection. As the evening breeze whispered through the monastery, Master An observed the thoughtful expression on David's face. "David," he said gently, "do you often find yourself chasing perfection?" David sighed and nodded. "All the time. In my work, in my personal life. I always feel like I have to be the best, and when I fall short, it's frustrating." Master An smiled knowingly. "You are not alone. Many people believe that happiness lies in perfection, but in truth, the pursuit of perfection often leads to suffering. Let me tell you a story." He settled comfortably on the wooden bench. There was once a skilled potter who spent years trying to create the perfect vase. Each time he noticed a tiny imperfection, he would discard his work and start over. Days turned into years, and he never completed a single vase. His entire life was spent chasing an unattainable ideal, never experiencing the joy of his craft. Meanwhile, another potter in the same village made vases with care and joy, embracing the imperfections as part of the beauty. He found meaning in his work, knowing that no vase needed to be perfect to be valuable. David leaned forward, intrigued. So the first potter wasted his life chasing something impossible, while the second found meaning in his work. Master Ont nodded. Exactly. Seeking meaning in what we do is far more fulfilling than striving for perfection. Life itself is imperfect. Relationships, careers, even personal growth. Nothing is flawless. But when we pursue what truly matters to us, without obsessing over perfection, we find joy and purpose. David frowned. But in my world, people expect perfection. If I let go of that, won't I be seen as less capable? Master An chuckled softly. Excellence and perfection are not the same. Striving to do your best is noble, but expecting flawlessness in everything is a path to frustration. When you let go of perfection, you allow yourself to grow, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. David sat silently, absorbing the words. So, how do I start focusing on meaning instead of perfection? First, reflect on why you do what you do. Is it to create, to contribute, to connect? Identify what truly matters to you. Then accept that mistakes are part of the journey. Every misstep teaches something valuable. Finally, celebrate progress, not just outcomes. David smiled slightly. That actually sounds freeing. I've been so caught up in proving myself that I've forgotten why I started in the first place. Master An placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then begin today. Shift your focus from chasing perfection to pursuing what gives your life meaning. You will find that true fulfillment does not come from being flawless, but from being present, purposeful, and at peace with the journey, embracing change. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the scent of earth and the distant hum of nature's chorus. Master An watched the leaves dance in the air before settling gently onto the ground. He turned to David and said, "Change is the only constant in life, yet so many resist it." Tell me, David, how do you feel about change? David hesitated before responding. I fear it. I like stability, knowing what to expect. But lately, I've realized that resisting change only makes things harder. Still, it's difficult to let go. Master An nodded. That is a natural feeling. We grow attached to what we know, believing it provides security. But clinging to the past or fearing the future only brings suffering. Let me share a story with you. He took a deep breath. There was once a farmer who lived near a great river. One day, a heavy storm caused the river to overflow, sweeping away his crops and home. Devastated, he lamented his loss, believing his life was ruined. But as time passed, the floodwaters receded, leaving behind fertile soil richer than before. In the years that followed, his harvest flourished beyond what he had ever imagined. What seemed like a disaster had given him the greatest gift: growth. David listened intently. So, what seems like loss can actually lead to something better. Exactly. Master An said with a warm smile. When we resist change, we suffer. But when we embrace it, we allow ourselves to evolve. Life is like a river. It flows forward, never backward. We must learn to move with it rather than against it. David ran a hand through his hair. I've spent so much energy trying to control things, to keep everything the same. Maybe that's why I feel so exhausted. Master, Anne placed a reassuring hand on David's shoulder. True peace comes from acceptance. When you accept that change is inevitable, you free yourself from the burden of control. Instead of seeing change as an enemy, see it as a teacher. Each transition in life holds a lesson, whether it's loss, growth, or a new beginning. David took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his own resistance begin to lift. I think I'm starting to understand. But how do I practice embracing change? Start small, Master An advised. Acknowledge the little changes each day. How the sky shifts in color. How your breath moves in and out. When challenges arise, instead of resisting, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Over time, you'll find that change is not something to fear, but something to welcome. David smiled. For the first time, change doesn't feel so terrifying. Maybe it's not about holding on, but about learning to let go. Master An nodded. Indeed. Let go, and trust that life is guiding you to exactly where you need to be. Caring for the body and mind, Master. And stretched his hands towards the sky, taking in a deep, steady breath before exhaling slowly. He turned to David with a gentle smile. To find true happiness, one must care not only for the mind, but also for the body. A troubled mind often resides in a neglected body. Tell me, David, how do you take care of yourself? David shifted uncomfortably. I suppose I don't. My days are filled with work, stress, and responsibilities. I eat whatever is convenient. I barely sleep, and exercise feels like a luxury I can't afford. Master An nodded knowingly. Many believe that pushing themselves to exhaustion is the path to success, but they do not realize they are wearing down the very vessel that carries them through life. The body and mind are deeply connected. A weakened body leads to a restless mind, just as a peaceful mind promotes a healthier body. David frowned. So you're saying that my stress and fatigue aren't just mental but also physical? Precisely, Master An replied. Imagine a tree. If its roots are weak, no matter how strong its branches are, it cannot stand tall. Your body is your foundation. Neglecting it means making life's storms harder to endure. Let me share a story. Master An took a deep breath, giving without expecting in return as the evening deepened and the stars began to appear in the sky. Master An turned to David with a knowing smile. David, have you ever given something to someone and felt joy in doing so? David thought for a moment before nodding. Yes, but sometimes I also feel disappointed when my kindness isn't acknowledged or reciprocated. It makes me wonder if giving is worth it. Master An chuckled softly. Ah, that is where many misunderstand the true nature of giving. Let me tell you a story. He settled into his seat and began. There was once a farmer who had a habit of sharing his best seeds with his neighbors. A traveler, curious about this practice, asked him, "Why do you give away your finest seeds? Doesn't that reduce your advantage?" The farmer smiled and replied, "Not at all. The wind carries pollen from my neighbors' fields to mine. By helping them grow quality crops, I ensure that my own fields also flourish." David listened intently, a flicker of realization crossing his face. So giving isn't just about helping others. It benefits the giver too. Precisely. Master An nodded. When we give freely, without expecting anything in return, we cultivate a heart of abundance. Holding on to expectations when giving turns generosity into a transaction. True kindness is given with an open heart, simply because it is the right thing to do. David sighed. That makes sense, but it's difficult. We're taught to measure everything: effort, results, even generosity. How do I change that mindset? Master An folded his hands. Start by giving in small ways. Offer a smile to a stranger. Listen attentively to someone who needs to talk. Or share your knowledge without seeking recognition. When you do these things with no expectation, you'll begin to experience the joy of selfless giving. David hesitated. But what if people take advantage of my kindness? Master An's eyes twinkled with wisdom. Kindness is not weakness. Give where your heart feels called, but do not allow others to manipulate you. Boundaries and wisdom are part of true generosity. Give what you can, when you can, with sincerity, and then let go. David took a deep breath, feeling a shift in his understanding. So giving isn't about the response, it's about the act itself. Exactly, Master An affirmed. A tree does not withhold shade from the traveler who does not thank it. The sun does not cease to shine because someone takes its warmth for granted. When you give, do so because it brings light to the world, not because you seek something in return. David looked up at the night sky, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. I think I understand now. Giving freely isn't a loss. It's a way to grow. Master An smiled. Indeed, a heart that gives without expectation is like a river that nourishes everything in its path, never running dry. Embrace generosity, and you will find that you are never lacking. David sat quietly, reflecting on everything Master An had shared with him. The lessons of gratitude, presence, purpose, resilience, self-care, and generosity had settled in his heart like seeds planted in fertile soil. He realized that happiness was not something to chase. It was something to cultivate, moment by moment, through conscious choices and a shift in perspective. Master An looked at him with gentle eyes. David, happiness is not a distant destination. It is found in how you live each day. It is in the way you cherish what you have, nurture your relationships, embrace life's uncertainties, and care for both your body and mind. Most importantly, it is in how you give, to yourself, to others, and to the world, with an open heart. David exhaled deeply, feeling lighter than he had in years. I understand now, he said. I've spent my life searching for happiness in achievements and external things, but it was always within me. I just needed to see it. Master An nodded. Awareness is the beginning of transformation. Now, take these lessons and live them. Start small. Express gratitude daily. Be present in your moments. Pursue meaning rather than perfection. Accept change as a part of life. Care for your well-being. And give without expectation. These simple practices will lead you to a life of fulfillment. David smiled, feeling a newfound sense of peace. Thank you, Master An. I came here looking for answers and I found something even more valuable. A new way to live. Master An placed a reassuring hand on David's shoulder. Go forward with an open heart and share what you have learned with others. Happiness grows when it is shared. As David left the monastery, the world around him looked different, not because it had changed, but because he had. He no longer felt the restless pursuit of something elusive. Instead, he felt present, alive, and deeply grateful. The journey to happiness was not about acquiring more, but about appreciating what already was. And with that realization, he stepped into his life anew, carrying the wisdom of Master An with him, ready to embrace each moment with an open heart and a peaceful mind.